Hi, today I'm reading The Cat Who Came In From the Cold by Deric Longden, Chapter 4. I love talking in the Northeast. Some audiences sit tight, as sealed individual units, their arms metaphorically folded across their chests. Go on then, entertain us. You have to work to win their approval. In the Northeast, they welcome you with open arms and will you to do well. Their standards are just as high and their criticism just as valid, but they understand that the next hour is going to be a two-way thing, and as you stand up and clear your throat, they are already switched on and rooting for you. You can still fail to last the course, but at least they give you a flying start. The only thing that comes between me and the Northeast is the A1. That's where you earn your money, not on the platform. The roadworks stretch for miles ahead. The salesmen in their Ford Sierras chew on the steering wheel. The vegetarian on the Citroen 2CV chews on his bar of nuts and raisins, and the man in the Reliant Robin contentedly chews on his cud. He always travels at this speed. 7 miles in 2.5 hours. A man jumps out and kicks savagely at a traffic cone. The other cones move in on him menacingly. He jumps back in, locks his door and winds up the window. At any moment a wooden cart with wooden wheels will come rumbling down the central reservation to the accompanying cry of "Bring out your dead." Roadworks. I saw an actual workman once and thought I was going mad. Aileen was hard at work when I arrived home, sparks flying from her keyboard. I kissed her on the head and waited patiently for her to work her way back to the present day. Right now she would be on a North Yorkshire farm in the mid-1940s, persuading her characters to do as they were told. Sometimes the more willful ones disobeyed her. They were the ones who made the book come alive. So I sat and waited. I didn't want her to get the bends. As she moved into a book, she wound herself around her characters, and they in turn would influence her. I would keep an eye on my back as she consorted with the evil half-brother who was salvaged by the pig. Keeping company with the blunt Mr. Renshaw would turn her into a woman of few words. I looked over her shoulder and saw that Maddie and Max were sinking down half naked by the hearth, their bodies intertwined, his lips caressing hers. I waited for her. She would be worth waiting for. I made a pot of tea and took the tray into the study. There was no sign of the kitten. She must have taken it home. Hello. She was coming down the farm now, wiping the mud off her wellies. How long have you been here? Long enough to make a pot of tea. There's a cup in front of you, don't knock it over. Lovely, thanks. Have you seen the kitten? No. I've lost him again. He spent all morning on the sheepskin rug, but I haven't seen him for ages. I thought you'd taken him home. No, I can't find him. We had 18 rooms. She would have had trouble finding a buffalo. A kitten, even a white one, would be impossible. Some guide kitten he'd turned out to be. You could have shut him in somewhere. Where have you been? I haven't been anywhere, honest. I've been working in here all day. You must have been to the toilet. Well, yes. And into the kitchen, only to get a yogurt from the fridge. There was a pause. It wasn't a long pause. It was a short pause, only about 3/5 of a second in duration, and then Aileen said, "I couldn't have, could I?" She could have, and she had. The kitten sat on that glass shelf that covers the vegetable tray, astride a polythene pack of Danish bacon. His prim little paws were buttoned up side by side, and his miserable excuse for a tail was neatly tucked in, just like his mother had taught him. Sit up and don't slouch. As the light came on, his eyes slammed shut. His mouth opened wide, but whatever it was he intended to say remained frozen solid inside him. I knelt down and picked him up, and the Danish bacon came up with him, his bum welded to the polythene. Is he all right? I don't know, it's hard to tell. I ripped the polythene like plaster from his fur. His eyes shot open. He would get me for that later. Here, give him to me. I handed him over and reached for the towel. Wrap him in this. She waved it away and tucked him inside her shirt. He needs body warmth. She closed her arms around him and cuddled him against her breast. But it was going to take more than that to melt him. He was a rigid little kitten, like a stuffed toy from Woolworths. Aileen began to shiver. Could he have frostbite? I have no idea. Her eyes frosted over and her teeth began to clatter, but the kitten just lay there like a pubescent snowball. He seemed to have shrunk. Pass me the towel and let's get him by the fire. She wrapped him up tight, and I had the fire on full blast by the time she plonked him down on the hearth in the drawing room. She held him in the glow of the fire and rubbed him gently with the towel. Don't hold him too close, he might get hot aches. She rubbed his paws to make sure they weren't missing out as his blood began to circulate, and gradually here and there certain bits of him came back to life and started to move. First it was his head that nodded up and down, slowly, as though he might be in the rear window of a Ford Cortina. Then his tail, such as it was, swished hesitantly like a short-sighted pipe cleaner. I think he's going to be alright. He looked up at me and I could read his mind. We're a vet now, are we? And then he began to shiver. I have never seen anything shiver quite like that kitten. If Aileen had let go of him, we would never have caught him again. He moved through from first gear to fifth gear and then on to automatic, his whole body trembling, every little muscle pulsating, and it seemed as though he was never going to stop. I've got an idea. With hindsight, it was perhaps not the brightest idea I've ever had, but at the time I thought I was a genius.